there is so much physical talent in that young man's game. And the Bears, with what they've done with I don't think that, like, there's going to be a lot of time till we get to see that talent.
Question, Dan, that first throw, like you said, being off balance, sort of fading away. How difficult is that to place that ball the way he did?
I think for a righty quarterback, the hardest throw to make is fading away to your left and throwing it back to the right.
Yeah.
Not only back to the right, but that was decent coverage, solid coverage by the Oregon kid. And to throw that, like, Patrick versus the Ravens. That's kind of like the one to MVS. He was drifting back rather than fade. I think that's one of the hardest throws.
Yeah. I mean, you could, and some of the ones that you caught, too. RC, when you think about that Bears wide receiver room, even before adding Rome Odunze, they already looked really good. What are they getting now in somebody like Rome? How good is he?
I made a tape because I wanted to show that he wasn't just some 50-50 ball catcher. Like, he's the guy that could do so much more. I'm going to show you what he's prolific at, right? It's gathering information right here, making sure I get skinny to get to the outside. Here, gather information, get to the outside. Now, he understands he's going to shoot his inside hand, knocks the hand off, and here is where he's special, locating the ball, catching the ball in close quarters. Now, I want to watch the long speed. This is the guy who was the 200-meter champion at Bishop Gorman in high school. Watch how he tracks the football. Here, let's run it back because I want to show you the difference between an elite tracker of the football and a novice, probably why he's playing defense. The one thing they always teach you is look up, not back. The Texas cornerback is looking back. He can't find the football. Rome Odunze, who is adept at it, looks up, tracks it, catch the football. Now, he's also a good route runner, which we don't give him credit for. The motion is going to put the off guy in coverage against Rome. Here, rocker step, got you. Now watch the pressure step. Reset. Pressure step to the outside. This is a wide receiver that can actually do everything. And now you're adding him to a wide receiver room with Keenan Allen, who's a magician at the line of scrimmage, and DJ Moore, who's an all-around wide receiver. Caleb Williams has a really
love that reset out route.
You know, watching him, listening to you talk a little bit about his skill set, and then thinking about the receiver room, it's not too dissimilar from what Joe Burrow got to work with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, only Caleb gets to play behind a much better offensive line than Burrow did. But when we talk about situations, #1 overall picks, I think those two receivers, all three of them, but really Moore and Rome Odunze, present a similar problem that those Bengals wide receivers do. If you single up, or if you double one of them or bracket one of them, somebody is going to get single coverage. And I would not want to be a defense trying to figure out which of these guys are you going to man up against.
Sometimes, like, I know we're talking about Rome. I'm going to go back to Caleb. Sometimes I know, like, Dan breaks these quarterbacks down and we look at their hips and how they tied to their feet. The one thing that gets lost sometimes with Pat and how great he is, he's just a damn playmaker. Like, when you turn the tape on, it's like, this wasn't perfect. This wasn't perfect. This wasn't how you would do that. But the ability to play make is an ability. And I think that's what got Caleb to this point. Because if you look at Jaden and you look at the numbers and you look at how he's tied with his throw and his feet, you say, well, it's more polished. But some of that unpolished in the NFL matters. And I think that's what carried Pat Mahomes early in his career as he's continued to build things on. So those similarities are there, and there's a reason why we talked about it, because playmaking is an ability.
Real quick, I think one of the things that would be really important between him and Rome is how comfortable Caleb can get throwing to Rome when he's covered. Like that is a growth process of you're not open, but I'm still going to trust you type of thing.
I get it, but they'll also have a lot of people who may be uncovered considering the weapons that they have. Now, the Bears are proud of their 2 picks in the first round, as they should be. Look at this from their Twitter. They changed their profile pic on X there to see the 1st overall and the 9th overall. A new era for Chicago. Will be fascinating to see how it all plays. Give us something you want to see JJ work on between now and the start of the season.
Yeah, we were talking about how it clearly translates to the Vikings offense, as Dan so presciently saw the vision. But one thing he's going to have to do, especially with all the play action they use, is layer throws over second-level defenders. While I think he's very accurate and has a very strong, you don't see a lot of touch throws on his tape. It's all line drives. So I was wondering, how hard is it for a quarterback to get better at throwing with touch?
Yeah, I think it's something that absolutely can be taught. There's drills to teach it. I think part of the reason why that happens, you're absolutely correct, is he is in like Trevor Lawrence's world, almost robotic. He's so committed to the rhythm and the timing of a pass game. This is just going to be a motion down to deep out. Now, I want everyone to pay attention to his lower half, JJ's lower half. Watch how deep he sits there. And he puts his back foot in the ground, and then he's trying to drive this out. If he just was a little bit more like hop, hop, 2 quick hitches, and played with a little touch throw, Mina, like just lobbed that ball to the sideline instead of feeling, oh, I got to drive this football because on paper I'm taught to sit and put my back foot in the ground. That's a bad miss, in my opinion.
Right.
But because on paper, because it's taught, hey, we are going to run this play, and you're going to go 1, 2, 3, sit on that back leg, and then drive the football. It's a fine line. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a fine line because that's one of his strengths. But it's also sometimes where, again, he gets so committed to it. You're like, dude, just take a hop hitch. The guy's wide open and loft that ball out there. So I think it's a little bit like of a rep thing.
Timing.
Yeah, a timing thing. Encouragement of freedom thing. Like, hey, you know, as long as the ball's out of your hands before that receiver's turning, you're totally okay.
Okay, so quick story, you guys. The Vikings weren't done. They moved up to 17. And when that was happening in the green room last night with the families, everybody was looking around because defensive players were still there, of course. And Dallas Turner starts getting a call. No one could figure out who it was. His family's like, who is it? And he's like, I'm on the phone, like getting drafted, you know. When they realized that it was Minnesota, there was this cheer because they were so excited for the situation. What do you think about maybe, many believed, one of the best defensive players, if not the best in this draft, going to Minnesota?
He is perfect for what Brian Flores is going to do from a defensive standpoint. Flores is aggressive. Dallas Turner is elite at getting his hand out of the dirt and going forward. That's why we were talking about it with Latu. How would you view both of these guys? But his ability to bend the edge and use a long arm, but all of it comes off speed. He's not as strong and big as Will Anderson Jr. was. I don't think he's as stout at the line of scrimmage. But this ability to play low, y'all hear me talk about this all the time. How fast can you stay the lower you get on a pass rush really matters in this league now because all the tackles are 6'6" and above for the majority of those guys. I think he has an elite trait when it comes to bending the edge and getting after the quarterback. If Flores is going to be aggressive like he's been defensively, you can also use him as a move-around guy in some of your pressures because of his speed as well.
That was going to be my point. You have to do that with him. If you get back into the first round or when you draft him in the first round, it's to say, okay, we're going to put you in opportunities to succeed. And we saw that with Jim Schwartz. As great as Myles Garrett is and was, he got better this year because of that. And I believe Brian Flores is going to have to focus on that with Dallas Turner because he has elite measurables and rush traits.
Yeah, but it makes a lot of sense for their defense because what you guys just described, the athleticism, his ability to drop into coverage, to run games, all things that Brian Flores will ask him to do. But also remember, they signed Jonathan Grenard out of Houston to a big contract. So he doesn't have to come in right away and be the #1 pass rusher.
It's important.
As you guys are saying all this, I'm thinking there is actually a lot of pressure on J.J. McCarthy to be really, really good because the rest of this team is great, and they should have a ton of success next season. They had the option of taking quarterback J.J. McCarthy with the 6th overall pick. Instead, they decide to add LSU wideout Malik Neighbors. I felt like this was a great choice. Does the move make sense to you, Field Yates?
It does. It certainly does to me, Laura. And I said yesterday on this show, I didn't have conviction taking J.J. McCarthy 6th overall. I had him 18th on the final big board. Now, Dan, you may disagree, and I understand some probably would have taken him at number 6 overall. But I don't believe if you don't have conviction on a quarterback, you can't pay that quarterback tax. There is no player in the entire draft who can help make life easier on a quarterback, though, more so than Malik Neighbors can, because no one's more explosive and nobody is more capable of turning an ordinary play into an extraordinary play. The Giants haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver since Odell Beckham Jr. They are desperate for a player who can make life easy. Early in the show, Dan, you were saying, what's the worst thing for a defender? Getting beat deep. For an offense, there's nothing we like more than easy drive.
Cheap yards.
Smash the easy button. Next thing you know, you're in the end zone.
3 yards and a touchdown.
We love those kind of drives. Malik Neighbors, even more so than Marvin Harrison Jr., is the player who can most help you have that kind of offensive success.
Yeah, so he's got 34 plays of 20 yards or more. That's the most since Jamar Chase.
Ridiculous.
Since Daniel Jones has been the starting quarterback for the New York Giants, they are the last ranked team in the NFL when it comes to explosive plays. But here's my thing. He will have to be great, Malik Neighbors, for I think Daniel Jones to play good. And I think that's going to be the challenge. Now, do I think he's capable of it? Absolutely. But that's the challenge for that player at pick 6. Go be great in that explosive element play-wise that you had in college. If he does that, then I think that the Giants are you're going to look smart when it comes to that decision at quarterback. If he's not capable of doing that consistently in the NFL, then they're stuck in a difficult place quarterback-wise.
I'm excited to see Brian Dable with him. It'll be fun to see how he uses him. And now, Marcus, I saw him first take. Stephen A. was giving you a hard time about your Cowboys, so I decided to wait a while to bring this up. But they did go offensive line because, you know, we're family. They picked with the 29th pick Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. Do you like it?
And if you can't depend on family, you can't depend on the damn thing. Thank you for that. I like the pick. It was a need. 3 offensive linemen walked away from Dallas. Now, Tyler Guyton is not a finished product, but he helps you in the interim as far as getting developed and also making sure that you're shoring up this offensive line. The other thing I thought about, and Babyface can relate to this, Babyface is Phil Yates for people that don't know what I call him. This particular position group, depth is almost as important as to how good you are. And having guys that can play multiple positions. So you probably can keep Tyler Smith in his regular position. You bring in Tyler Guyton, try to see if the left tackle position works. The right tackle position may work because he's a big guy, physical. I like the pick for Dallas based on where you were. It's not sensational, but I want everybody to remember this, and I'm defending Dallas for the first time in a long time. They have been as good drafting offensive linemen.
Drafting in general.
Drafting in general, but the offensive line in particular. Unfortunately, Travis Frederick had a sickness. He couldn't continue to play. He was trending towards being not a, I hate to say a Hall of Famer, but he was trending in that direction. They took Zach Martin. They had Tyron Smith. This offensive line got way worse fast. And it's a part of what Dallas has had to deal with going forward. I like this pick. It's about development for Tyler Guyton.
Quickly, the business was good. I think they could have taken him at 24. I would have said absolutely no problem with that. Instead, they moved back 5 slots, get extra draft capital. This team needs draft picks because they're not doing anything in free agency. Like that part of it. I love the player. He has
Can he play left?
Upside.
Can he play left tackle?
He was born to be a left tackle. He has been stuck at right tackle because of circumstances. This past year at Oklahoma, they had a transfer, Walter Rouse from Stanford, who's a 4-year starter there. He goes to Oklahoma. They say, we're going to keep you at your position. It may take some time, as Swagoo said. But with Mike Solara, the offensive line coach, developing him, wouldn't be surprised. And I'm not saying this is hyperbole. If 5 years from now, he's the best offensive lineman in the class.
Wow,
that's how much upside there is for him. He's just going to take a little bit of time.
And you think about all the ones that were taken ahead of him. It could end up really working out for Dallas. We're just trying to make you feel good.